Hello, everyone. It's getting a little nippy, so I thought it'd be the perfect time to kick off a Christmas theme episode on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in one of my little elves, please subscribe, like, and share the Swanky Spectrum Sports YouTube page, where Week 15 might not have been great for best ball or fantasy, but we're still kicking. Also, check out the Big D podcast for audio listeners, Spotify and Apple. So, back and ready as always. Leader for Tyreek Hill MVP, Mike McDaniel Coach of the Year, and Tua Tagovailoa Comeback Player of the Year. Which and Jalen Phillips and who's the center? Who's the center of the Dolphins? Connor Williams could magically get that Aaron Rodgers medicine. Alex.
Thank you, sir. Don't forget Devon Achane, offensive rookie of the year. Definitely got to throw some love there. But yes, thank you for the lovely introduction, Dylan. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, the whole shebang to all of our listeners. It's it's that time of year. Obviously, it's the holiday season. Everyone's full of cheer and joy, and December football, which it doesn't get much better than that. I guess January, February football is really what you're looking for at the end of the day. But December football is how you get there, and we talk about it every year. It's where it's the money making season. You got to make your moves. You got to make that playoff push, or lock up that as high of a seed as possible. So we talking Christmas, we talking football, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, if anybody saw Monday Night Football last night, would have seen Jalen Hurts gotten out with, I don't know what it would have been, the flu, virus, or something, and Drew Lock maybe putting together the greatest highlight reel of his career. The throw to DK Metcalf, the throw to JSN for a touchdown, and Jalen Hurts throwing another interception where the Seahawks won 20-17. Freaking things always happen in Seattle, right? I mean, Pete Carroll was 8-0 against the Eagles.
Yeah, it's they say it's one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, and the 12th man effect is real up there in Seattle. That stadium is designed to be loud, and I don't think I've never been there myself, but I don't think you can really fully comprehend what that's like until you've actually been there. It's the same as, and even more so than Arrowhead. I mean, that stadium is built to be loud. It's like a wind tunnel up there in Seattle. So, it's a whole different environment going up to the Pacific Northwest. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles might have needed to prepare a little bit more for that 12th man than they expected.
Yeah, I remember a game. I don't remember exactly. In 2005, I think it was, where the Giants were called for like 11 or 12 illegal seizure penalties, and Mike Holmgren gave the game ball to the 12th man.
Yeah, it's Seattle's always been known, whether the Seahawks are known for the Legion of Boom or the 12th man. I mean, they've had some great nicknames over the years, but I definitely think everyone showed up for Seattle yesterday, especially Drew Lock. It was great. Yeah, it was one of the most genuine post-game interviews that I think I've seen in a long time. Was seeing his interview after the game yesterday, and it's hard not to root for the kid. You can tell how much he wants it and how bad it meant to him to be able to lead his team to victory last night. And you could see the emotion on his face. It was great to see.
I think it's the Seahawks fans are over caffeinated.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame them. I mean, it is. Seattle is the home of Starbucks, right? So I think you might have a good point there.
So obviously, Drew Lock got the win last night, but what's up with the Eagles? They've lost 3 straight. Now, Philly's played a brutal stretch. Right. Dallas, at Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas, at Seattle.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it is a brutal schedule. I definitely think, Eagles fans will be looking very much so ahead to 2 out of 3 games against the Giants, who obviously have not had the year that they were hoping to have. And then, smack dab in the middle of that is the 3-11 Arizona Cardinals. So, it's definitely going to be, I think, a bit relieving for Eagles fans over the next 3 games to not be playing some of the top juggernauts in the league. But it's definitely been concerning. I mean, we've seen, first off, back-to-back games for Jalen Hurts without throwing a touchdown pass, which, obviously your starting quarterback should be throwing touchdown passes. It's kind of step one in the getting a win on Sunday process, or Monday in this case. It's football that they just seem undisciplined. I don't know. Yesterday in particular, I don't know if it had to do specifically with the 12th man or what, but offensive line penalties. We've been seeing penalties. I know Jason Kelce had a couple in that Cowboys game that you had mentioned. That really kind of gave him the dagger at the end of that game. And it just seems like what happened to Nick Sirianni, what happened to Jalen Hurts. Obviously, he's got the rushing ability, but back-to-back games with no passing touchdowns and some crucial penalties that really kill them. It's definitely a bit of a concern heading into playoff season.
I'm not at all concerned with the Eagles. I mean, yes, not having Philly's old offensive coordinator who's doing great things with Gardner Minshew in Indianapolis. Last night was the first time I'd seen Philly outplay an opponent and lose. I've seen Philly be outplayed and win, and last night was the other way around. I think Jalen Hurts was game for playing last night, but Philly's got it. But last year the Eagles would get ahead and stayed ahead, and this year it's not the case. Now, I think the Eagles can't run the ball for the same like they could last year. I think DeAndre Swift looks like he's wearing down a little bit. But where are the big plays right now? Because this offense is too reliant on Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Throwing Dallas Cowboys too. Secondly, Jalen Hurts making more mistakes than he did last year, where seemingly he would play so efficient-free. I mean, he's making mistakes. And defensively, the Eagles aren't the same team.
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Eagles as my Super Bowl representative out of the NFC for the sole reason that, in my opinion, they look like the most complete football team in the NFL. That's obviously not the case anymore. The defenses look suspect. They have had significant inconsistencies, on the offensive side of the ball. Like you said, the run game has been struggling with Kenneth Gainwell lately, and they do seem pretty reliant. Obviously, you've got 3 great weapons to throw to between Goddard, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. But you still have to have some. You can't be one-dimensional. I've seen it so many times with the Dolphins, where especially last season, the Dolphins would give up on their run game and it would shoot them in the foot. You can't do that in the NFL. You have to be a complete football team on all 3 sides of the ball. But I am concerned. You said you're not as concerned about the Eagles. I mean, you obviously, they'll probably win out, beat the Giants twice and beat the Cardinals and finish at 13-4. But the thing about the Eagles is, you've just dropped 3 games in a row. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, yes, I get those were great football teams, but in the playoffs, you're going to be playing the top tier football teams. You're not going to have the luxury of playing the Eagles. Playing the Giants twice in the playoffs and playing the Cardinals in the playoffs. I mean, yes, they're probably going to win these games and seemingly get on the right track going into the playoffs. It's going to be great to have some momentum as long as they take care of business over the next 3 weeks. But still, once you get back into the playoffs, you're going to be playing against one of the top tier teams in the NFC. I mean, you put them up against, again, the Cowboys again, the Detroit Lions, some of these top tier teams, the San Francisco 49ers, God forbid if you're an Eagles fan. I don't see how the Eagles really can compete with it, at least from what they're showing me now. There's a lot of concerns that I have for that football team.
I think the Eagles match up with every team in the league, maybe outside San Francisco. You think Jared Goff's winning an outdoor game in Philadelphia? No. You think Matthew Stafford's winning an outdoor game in Philadelphia? No. You think Nick Mullins is winning an outdoor game in Philly? No. You think Baker? No. You think Derek Carr's winning a game? You think Geno Smith or Drew Lock will win a game there? Heck, could you even say, do you think Dak and the Cowboys can win there? Probably not. I don't think the Eagles should fear anybody. Not with that quarterback, not with that weapons. Now, maybe if Philly's defense played like it did last night, the Eagles are a different team. But, I mean, we saw Matt Patricia become the de facto defense coordinator. We'll see how that changes. But Eagle fans expect and demand winning.
They do, and you're right. But at the end of the day, this season, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, has been defined by the tush push. It has been, obviously they've been more than that. But at the end,
definitely the butt of everybody's joke, Alex.
Hey, very well said. Very well said, Dylan. But you can't QB sneak your way to a Super Bowl. I'm sorry. It's a great play. Yes, it's a lifesaver on 3rd and 4th downs. But when it comes to those 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 15s, you get a couple false starts or offensive holding penalties that we've seen from the Eagles offensive line lately, who is obviously been regarded well respected, but regarded as the best offensive line in football. I've seen that offensive line have crucial penalties at crucial times, and that puts you in a hole. I get that you've got the talent. I get that you have the weapons, and I get that Philadelphia, especially, considering who their last 3 games of the season are, you're probably going to have some home playoff games, but at the end of the day, you still have to take care of business. I don't care if you're home. I don't care if you're away. Obviously, they had some struggles playing against Seattle. I don't care if it's in Seattle or not. The Philadelphia Eagles should have beaten the Seattle Seahawks with their backup quarterback yesterday. And the fact that they didn't, it's a concern. The fact that they've lost 3 in a row, it's a concern. And the fact that, they're going to be playing against the San Francisco 49ers more likely than not is a concern to me. But let's move on. I want to stick on the East Coast. Let's move a little bit more south, a little less chilly this time of year. I want to talk about a team that one of us knows and loves, as frustrating as it may be on occasion, the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, not the greatest day for Jacksonville Jaguars fans this weekend, as I'm sure you can attest, putting up 7 points against the Baltimore Ravens. I'm curious, Dylan, as the Meow mega fan you are, what do you see out of Trevor Lawrence? What are the concerns there, if there are any, and what do you expect for the Jaguars to wrap up this regular season?
Can we get a couple of healthy linemen and wide receivers? Do you have any linemen or wide receivers in South Beach?
Don't look at Miami. We're losing ours just the same.
I mean, be honest, I'm not seeing the same Trevor Lawrence we saw last year, but to be honest with you, he trusts Travis Etienne, Mayvan Ingram, and no one else. The Jacksonville offensive line has been putrid. Seemingly Trevor's having to do everything. Jaguars don't run the football. I mean, can't run the football. Don't run the football. It's basically when Travis Etienne plays well, you think of Week 5 against the Bills. Who won that game? It was Trevor Lawrence made big throws, but Travis Etienne running the ball really won the game for the Jags. Well, where's Travis Etienne been the last few weeks? Let's see. Nowhere.
Carries for I understand that you were in a hole and you were playing catch up to the Ravens, which is a tough team to play catch up to. But I'm sorry, that's Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry, Travis Etienne. Either way, 10 carries for 31 yards. It's not enough. It's not what you need out of one of the most talented players on your team.
And secondly, the offensive line in Jackson was a big problem for the season. And it's not getting better. In fact, you could say it's getting worse. I mean, there have been injuries, guys coming in and out of the lineup. Cam Robinson's hurt now. Little's missed time. I mean, this offensive line's not great. It's not Dallas's offensive line. It's not Philly's offensive line. The Jaguars couldn't protect a nosebleed. The Ravens just basically hit the crap out of Trevor Lawrence the other night.
Yeah. It's tough because especially in the AFC this year, there's a lot of competition, and I mean that where Jacksonville's sitting at that 8-6 spot. I mean, it is
you're making the Indianapolis Colts and Houston Texans look like world beaters.
Yeah, it's coming down to the point. I mean, we talk about it every year, and we've talked about it time and time again already on this podcast. It's December football. At this point, you're looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans, and the Buffalo Bills, all sitting at 8-6, all vying for one of 2 playoff spots. And it's going to come down, to really capitalizing on your opportunity. I mean, I know Jacksonville doesn't have, the most daunting upcoming schedule. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who just beat, the Packers, and I see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers favored as a 1-point favorite in that football game. You see the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, you should be able to take care of business there. And the Tennessee Titans, it's a division game. You never know what's going to happen. The Jaguars have to step up to the plate. They have to really, trust in their players. Obviously, Travis Etienne is a playmaker who's shown it this season. And Trevor Lawrence, you've got to be able to step up and make the plays when it counts, because
at this point, Trevor's even going to play because he's in concussion protocol.
Right. It's it's a tough spot because there's only even with the additional wild card this over the last couple of years, it's a little bit easier getting in the playoffs, but the AFC is just getting better and better. So you add a playoff spot, but you add more good teams, and it's just a tough spot. And I'll tell you what, I'm very happy and very thankful my Miami Dolphins are sitting on top of the AFC as we speak.
Maybe the good thing for the Jaguars is they play away from Duval County this weekend, because Jackson's not a great home team. The Dallas Cowboys could beat anybody, could beat the 72 Dolphins at home. The Jaguars would lose to the 2008 Detroit Lions at home.
Yeah, or the 07 Dolphins, jeez.
Hey, at least you got Bill Parcells in the next year.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, that was thanks to Tom Brady missing the entire season, but yeah, it's all right. But it's interesting. I mean, obviously, the nice thing for the Jaguars is they take care of business against Tennessee. That's another division win. You're tied. You're in a 3-way tie for the division. You don't have to get the wild card just because of the fact of you've got 3 teams tied for the division lead. If you can win out, and obviously you win out, things look good, but you get some help, you still might be able to win the division and get to the playoffs either way. But thankfully you don't have anyone else running away with the division this year. But I definitely think it's a little bit closer than Jaguars fans expected this race to be at this time of the year.
By the way, who would think that the Colts-Texans game would be meaningful Week 18?
Nobody at the beginning of the season would have said that.
I mean, but you know what that means? If the Colts and Texans are playing Week 18, somebody's not winning that week.
It's true. That's a good thing for Jaguars fans.
Now, maybe it's a tie. I mean, we almost saw one in Nashville this weekend.
Yeah. No, that AFC South, man, it's coming down to it. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that finishes up.
Well, both of us play fantasy football. How many leagues are you in?
5 or 6.
I think I was in 3 and joined another one later, so 4 for me. And me, Alex, one thing I like to do, especially during the summertime, because that's usually like the dormant season of football, is
watch baseball.
No, it's another BB.
Basketball.
No. It starts with BEST.
Best ball.
And you want to know how many Millie Maker drafts I did?
Oh, I know it was a lot, Dylan.
I'll give you a hint. It was 3 digits.
It was 152?
150.
150.
And 40 of my teams advance to Week 15, first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, guess how many of my teams made it?
I know the answer, and it is 1.
Yeah. One of my teams made it. In fact, I am going to show you my team if I can find it. This is the team that made it.
There we go.
I put up 190.82 points.
Jeez. Matthew Stafford, Kieran Williams, Tyson Chandler, Jalen Waddle, Jaden Reed. Nice Jaden Reed pick. That came in clutch. Deontay Johnson, Sam Laporta, the #1 spoken about player for Dylan pre-draft this year. We got Rashad White as your starters for the week. I love that. Trevor Lawrence, JSN, Zay Jones, Darius Slayton, Antonio Gibson. If only that was Brian Robinson. I know they were all falling right around the same spot in fantasy this year. Minga, Spears, Gainwell, and Mr. Tyreek Hill down there. Mark Andrews, Christian Kirk, and Damian Harris. Damian Harris. There you are.
You know what? Of all the teams to make it, I would not think it would have been this one. You know why?
Tyreek Hill didn't play this week.
And you know who else didn't play?
Mark Andrews.
And Christian Kirk.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I did not think this team would make it.
Yeah. It's honestly, it's impressive the fact that you had made it through this week, especially with Tyreek Hill, and that's only gonna speak for or give you an even better shot next week when he returns, because I definitely think that he's going to come back with a vengeance, and we're gonna see the Tyreek show once again this weekend.
I mean, you think this team has got a chance of advancing this week?
You never know. It's tough because obviously, especially in best ball, it's kind of and at this point, we've moved into to the time where you're playing the winners from multiple divisions. You're probably there's a very good chance you're playing against a lot of Sam Laportas. You're playing against a lot of Tyreek Hills. You're playing against a lot of those names who have been carrying fantasy football managers throughout the season. So it just really comes down to some of the excerpts, the guys who you have that other people don't, just it's luck. That's what fantasy. I mean, at the end of the day, fantasy football is luck, and you got to just do your best to hope and pray that they do their best.
Well, one of us did 150 drafts and is lucky to have one team. How many drafts did you do?
So I did 2 drafts.
And how many? And amazingly, one of them is still alive. I don't know how.
One of them is still alive. I know. I did 148 less drafts than you did, Dylan, and somehow, some way, we are going into the next round with the same amount of teams still alive. And I was 1 point away from my other team also making it through, which that would have been ridiculous. If I went 2 for 2, moving into this round, I definitely would have had to buy another lottery ticket. But I'm seeing if I can pull up my team here. It's going to be tough. I'm just going to read it off to you because it's going to be too hard I got to log in and everything like that. But my one team that is moving on, man, got some good names on here. Like the guys that you're hoping to have in best ball or who is on this team. We've got Jared Goff as my quarterback for the week. Zamir White for the Las Vegas Raiders out of nowhere carrying my team this week. Gus Edwards, who was so terrible for the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden is picking things up, obviously, with the injury there in Baltimore. Jalen Waddle without Tyreek this week.
Gus Edwards being Jamal Williams 2.0 from last year with the touchdown.
Yeah. Jalen Waddle stepping in huge in replace for Tyreek Hill this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, has been having a great year. Deebo Samuel has been having a great year. Sam Laporta, the most underrated player, I think, in fantasy football this year. Thank you, Dylan, for that pick. Even JSN snuck into my flex this week to take me to the next round. And then the bench is just disgusting. You've got Brock Purdy, who didn't even make my starting quarterback thanks to Jared Goff. You also have Michael Mayer, who had 14 points at the tight end position, who would probably be a starter for a lot of teams that don't have Sam Laporta. Tua Tagovailoa obviously didn't have the greatest fantasy week, but he's definitely had some this year. Puka Nacua didn't make the starting team, but obviously, he did on previous weeks. David Montgomery didn't make the team this week, but, he did previously. Dallas Goedert, Jerome Ford has had a couple big weeks this year. Wan'Dale Robinson had a huge week last week. Jamal Williams, not to be confused with Gus Edwards. Najee Harris was a bum pick. We can skip right over that. Kenneth Gainwell and Michael Gallup to round it out. That's a pretty team. That team could win me $1 million.
To be honest with you, I like your team better than mine.
Yeah, it's I'm pretty happy with it. I wish I had Tyreek. I like your Tyreek, but Waddle definitely stepped up for me. But I mean, having Waddle, having Amon-Ra, having Debo, having Laporta, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, or Tua, one of those guys is going to have a good week next week, I'm sure. Or two, yeah, honestly. Puka, David Montgomery. I mean, there's definitely options, and I think a lot of those names could. Honestly, this week's matchup wasn't even close. I think I beat the second place team by almost 20 points, 19 points, which in best ball is just, I feel like that's just ridiculous. So, I definitely got a good team. I'm excited for next week. I hope I take the top spot next week and move on into the millionaire matchup.
Yeah, if either one of us eliminated this week, we either get 50 or 60. But if we advance, still in the running for the $1 million, which would be an awesome New Year's Eve present.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not kidding.
I don't know what I'd do with that.
I don't either. I don't even know where I'd begin to start.
I need to hire an agent then.
Oh boy, but we love fantasy football. I've also Dylan and I are in a more traditional redraft league this year. He had the elusive tie this season, which I definitely think dampened his playoff chances a little bit there. I snuck into the final playoff spot. Thankfully, based on points, we had a 4-way tie for that 4th playoff spot in our fantasy league this year. 4 teams at 8-7. It looks like the AFC South in our fantasy league. But fortunately, I had second highest points in the league. Highest points in the league didn't even make the playoffs and finished in 8th place out of 12, which is even more ridiculous to me. But definitely a fun redraft season. Definitely a fun best ball season. Obviously, we've had our head-to-head matchups in DraftKings as well, which I don't think we've calculated throughout the season. I know I pulled it out this week, so it's always fun. Makes watching football even more fun than you think it possibly could get. But somehow with fantasy, we make it even more fun.
Darn it! How did you sneak by me?
I don't know. I made a last minute change too. We always tell each other our lineups a day or two before kickoff, and I stuck up some changes. I threw Jalen Waddle in there, which I definitely think helped my case a little bit, and it worked out.
I made my lineup like 40 minutes before kickoff.
Yeah, but it's I'm actually I think only one of my. We had our guillotine league, which I got eliminated week 1, which is pretty brutal. But other than that, I missed the playoffs in one of my leagues, and I think the other 3 or 4 I've made them in the semifinals. I think this week in 3 different leagues. So it's we know at least a little bit about what we're talking about. At least it's paying off. All right. But I think it's time to transition, Dylan. I noticed, something behind your head there, something on your shirt. It must be Christmas time. Is that the case?
Yeah. Yes, Santa.
Well, to keep it on theme, Dylan, I have a question for you. A couple questions, actually. To kick us off, in the Christmas spirit, I want to know, Dylan Santa Claus Schmittler, if you had to give the biggest present in all the land to one player in the NFL, who is getting the biggest present under their Christmas tree this year?
Christian McCaffrey.
I love it. Yeah, he's definitely well-deserved. He's had arguably an MVP, conversation. He's at least in the conversation. It's been electric seeing what he's been able to do this year.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey's putting together one of the greatest running back season I can remember. I mean, touchdown. I mean, the second touchdown he scored on Sunday. CMC falls to the grass, gets up, and then runs to the end zone. I'm like, and there wasn't an Arizona corner within 15 yards of him.
No, it's insane. The numbers he's putting up, the multi-touchdown games he's had, it's just, I mean, I don't know if you checked into Peyton and Eli yesterday for their Monday Night Football coverage. I think he was the first guest of the night. And, he's just such a down-to-earth guy. Obviously, I'm sure he's getting, compensated for being on the show. But just seeing him talk with Peyton and Eli and kind of breaking down, even back when he was the emergency quarterback in the playoffs last season and, talking through some of the plays that he had there. It was a great watch. It's been so much fun watching him throughout this season. And, it's been a blast. And I definitely think he deserves one of the biggest boxes under the tree for sure.
And plus, one of us is going to have Christian McCaffrey in our Yahoo League this weekend.
Yeah, that is me. He is definitely a very large reason as to why I am still alive in fantasy. He's a very large reason as to why I'm finished second in points and got the points for tiebreaker. I'm very thankful in this holiday spirit for Christian McCaffrey and his contributions to my fantasy.
I can't. And by the way, you know who the 101 was in that league? Patrick Mahomes.
It was Patrick Mahomes at the 101. You're right.
And I'm like, I could not. I remember the live stream, and I'm like, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, and like, what a year to draft Patrick Mahomes as the 101. There's some years where it's almost worth it. It's not, but there's some years where you could almost have an argument looking back, saying like, all right, that was a good pick. This year, not so much.
I drafted CeeDee Lamb, Saquon Barkley, at the 112-1 turn.
I think I had McCaffrey at the 103, I think, or maybe 105. I got him much later than I should have. I know that. Actually, I can look back. In the 104, I drafted Christian McCaffrey, and then on the second round turn, hit Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins, and boy, do I regret that T. Higgins pick.
Although you're going to be starting him on Saturday.
I definitely will be. You're right about that. But, man, I would have been happy to have DJ Moore, who you got at the top of round 4, even Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen, Chris Olave were all available at that pick. DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. There was plenty of options there, but that's all right. But I want to follow up my biggest present under the tree question, Dylan. I'm curious, who in the NFL space, it could be a player, it could be a coach, it could be a GM, it could be anyone, but who will open their stocking on Christmas and find a big lump of gold this year,
Dylan? Probably Ron Rivera because his days in Washington are numbered.
That's fair. I like that. I definitely think Brandon Staley has had maybe a couple stockings full of coal. It's probably the first name that pops in my head there.
Yeah, how the Chargers keep wasting great quarterback years is beyond me. But the Chargers, yeah, stupidly one of us picked the Chargers to win the AFC.
Yeah. The Bengals wasn't the greatest pick on my end as well. So we definitely both struggled there.
Yeah, we put the kiss of death on our AFC predictions, right?
Hey, that's fine with me. I'm glad I didn't pick the Dolphins because they've obviously benefited as best as possible for those two teams not being too competitive. Obviously, we'd be the Chargers week 1 in a very good football game, but we didn't have the privilege to go up against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But it's just one less team we had to worry about this year, which was nice.
Speaking of your Dolphins, what do you think about Miami's chances against the Cowboys on Christmas Eve?
It's going to be a great football game. One thing I noticed against their their most recent week. Obviously, it's going to be tough. They got shellacked by the Buffalo Bills this most recent weekend, and it seems like I know we played the Eagles after a bad loss, and they did after their first loss this season to the Jets, and they definitely took it out on us. I'm a little worried that the Cowboys might try and take it out on us as well this weekend. But one thing I noticed, obviously, Buffalo's run game went off this past weekend. Josh Allen did not have to do much of anything at all this week. It was the James Cook show, and fortunately, the Miami Dolphins have two very capable running backs who would love to be able to put 179 yards or more on that Dallas Cowboys defense. So, I definitely think there's some holes that the Cowboys have that the Dolphins can exploit. Obviously, it's going to be very big to have Tyreek Hill back, which, I definitely think he should be good to go. They said he probably could have played last week, but, they thought it was best they gave him the choice and he decided to sit out. But, it's definitely going to be a good game. Obviously, Michael Parsons is a player you got to watch out for. Dak has been, an MVP candidate for most of the year. CeeDee Lamb has been having a fantastic year as well. So, we've got a lot of respect for the Cowboys this season. They put together a great season. But, I am confident. I think the Dolphins can definitely pull it off. And, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great Christmas Eve. I'm glad it's in Miami. I'm glad we don't have to go to Jerry World for that one. And, it's going to be a good – it should be a really, really good competition. Odds are pretty much smack down the middle. ESPN's got it 49.8, 49.8. So can't get much more even than that. But I do predict a Miami Dolphins victory on Sunday.
Dallas will not only beat your Dolphins, but Dallas will win the game by 3 touchdowns. And three touchdowns. Dallas is going to win this game. And to be honest, I think the Cowboys put up 40.
It depends on who plays for Miami. We have so many significant injuries. I mean, we beat the best defense in the league. We shut out the Jets last week without our 2 starting safeties, one of our 2 cornerbacks, the best receiver in the National Football League, 2 of our offensive linemen. I mean, we got to get some help on the injury report.
You played Zach Wilson, for heaven's sake. You played. I mean, Garrett Wilson might as well have been in South Beach most of the game.
I mean, Zach Wilson sure looked good the week before. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, against the Houston freaking Texans, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, who are tied with your Jaguars for the lead of the AFC South, don't forget.
Not funny.
Uh-huh. But like I said, I definitely think the injury report is definitely going to be something I'm keeping my eye on this week. I know Achane, has been banged up as well. He obviously played last week, but he's dealing with a toe injury. So, hopefully Miami's as fully staffed as possible, for this game. But there's no excuses going in. It's December football. Everyone's banged up. Everyone's injured, and you got to get your best, most capable, healthiest 53 players, and beat the other 53, whatever names are on that list.
By the way, hopefully Dolphin fans show up because the Cowboy fans will.
Hey,
Miami's gonna not sell its tickets to Cowboy fans. Otherwise, you're gonna be playing a road game.
Hey, I mean, did you see that Washington Commanders game, the Dolphins Commanders game? The whole lower bowl was aqua and orange. You don't have to worry about Dolphins fans showing up.
Wait, that's just because Tyreek Hill gave them all free tickets.
Hey, whatever reason it is.
I mean, it's going to be big, and the starts a big 3-game stretch for your Dolphins. Dallas at Baltimore, Buffalo. But if you win 2 of those 3, you win the AFC South. I mean, East for the first time in 15 years.
Yeah, win 2 of the 3. You win the AFC East. Win 1 of the 3, you're in the playoffs. So, obviously, I think the Dolphins are shooting for a very confident, 3-0 finish in these last couple games. Really going to the playoffs with the momentum.
Heck, if you go 3-0, you'll be the number 1 seed, and the road to Vegas goes through
Miami, baby. That's what we're hoping for. And you ask any member of those Miami Dolphins, I'm sure you can watch it on Hard Knocks tonight at 9 o'clock. Every single one of those players expects to win all 3 of those football games. Whether it happens or not, jury's out. We'll have to see. But they've got the talent, I'll tell you that much.
What kind of an outfit would Mike McDaniel have for the Super Bowl in Vegas?
I mean, it'd be the nicest shoes you've ever seen. I can promise you that much.
Hoodie?
Oh, of course. Got to channel the inner Belichick if you're going to a Super Bowl.
Which one?
Thank you, baby.
Which one?
Which Belichick or which Super Bowl?
I thought you were saying Shanahan. Sorry.
No worries.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Belichick might be in DC next year.
DC? You think DC? I think he's going to the Chargers. You know?
I've got a sneaky suspicion of what the Chargers do, and it's not get Bill Belichick.
You're going to rehire Brandon Staley? Give him another shot?
No. The Chargers are going big boy hunting.
There's no bigger boy than Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick's time has come and gone.
I agree, but there's no bigger name in the head coaching world than Bill Belichick.
And right now, offensive-minded coaches are winning divisions. Let's see who's winning the AFC East. Oh, an offensive-minded coach. Who's winning the NFC East? Oh, an offensive-minded coach. Who's winning the NFC North? An offensive-minded coach. Who's winning the NFC West? Oh, an offensive-minded coach. Who's winning the AFC West? Oh, an offensive-minded coach.
Is it Andy Reid? Oh, yeah. And, yeah, all right. You make a good point. I'm loving it.
Hey, if the Dolphins end up the 1 seed, Jaguars end up the 4, we play divisional weekend, we might as well have a podcast from Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, that's really all I'm hoping for, Dylan. You know, it's funny enough. I was thinking about this earlier today. I almost don't even want the Dolphins to get the 1 seed. I would love to get that 2 seed. I don't want to play Buffalo in the first round, but anyone.
Yeah, because Buffalo might beat somebody.
If Buffalo does make the playoffs, I don't think there's a team in the AFC that would want to play Buffalo in the first round. But you give me anyone under Kansas City. You give me Jacksonville, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Indy, Houston, or Pittsburgh or Denver. You give me any one of those teams. I almost rather get the 2 seed and be able to play one of those teams in the first round to get that playoff win under our belt, to get that confidence moving into the second round. Obviously, the only thing I have to be concerned about is injuries. But, you know, I would love to get that playoff win under our belt so you don't have to worry about it when it comes to playing the Baltimore or the Kansas City Chiefs or, you know, even the Buffalo Bills potentially in the playoffs. You know, having that playoff win, I think, would be huge for that Dolphins team. And, you know, it might not be the worst thing getting that 2 seed and, you know, because, you know, honestly, there's really not a team that worries me between, you know, the 8 and 6, 7 and 7 squads, other than Buffalo. I think Miami would have their way with any other in that first round.
All right, Alex. So thanks for hopping on. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hopefully the Dolphins start off your holidays with a win on Sunday, and be nice to see a cheetah rumbling, fumbling, and stumbling in January.
Sure would. Thanks for having me as always, Dylan. And you know what it is. Fins up, baby.